you so much for staying tuned with us all through 6:30 with Na Anyama Collising and also with Sam. Right now, we're bringing you something that has to do with health. And it's not just health, but to do with children's health or babies, if we have to say it that way, to do with babies. It's an issue that plagues our society. I was just reading a little project. How do I even put it? The right word. For lack of better word, let me just say project there. That research, yes, that was done on it. And I was seeing some 1,200 and something. Yes, I'm talking about prematurity. And did you know that today is World Prematurity Day? Some term it as preterm, preterm, preterm. And I have a wonderful lady here. She is a pediatrician, right? If I am correct. She's a doctor as well. Yes, a doctor pediatrician. And she is CEO. That's the part I want to say in a hurry. She's CEO of Baby, Child, and Co. Baby, Child, and Co. So it's on Facebook. I just joined that platform today. It's also on Instagram. So quickly, when it's about children, it means it concerns all of us. So quickly dash there, just like and then follow as we do this very, very short but important interview or discussion on this. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. It will be very short. I have with me here Dr. Seiram Wardui. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
How has your morning been so far?
Fine, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm also happy to have you here. When we talk about prematurity all the time, sometimes people think it's a disease. Sometimes people think, I know, especially when it's our culture, we just don't want to do anything which is away from the normal. So we are surprised. I am surprised that today is World Prematurity Day. I'm surprised because I'm not hearing it out there. You know, when it comes to certain things, World Breast Cancer Month, we heard about it. Everybody was partaking in it and all that. I mean, when it comes to other things, diabetes and all that, we hear about it. But when it comes to prematurity, this is the first time I'm hearing about World Prematurity. And I know that most of my viewers are feeling same. They're in the same shoes with me right now. What do you think? I know I was talking to you earlier, but I really do want it to go out there. Why is prematurity something on the low? Why are we not talking about it?
We talk about it, but because of the people who talk about it. You know, when you talk about breast cancer, when you talk about things that have to do with adults, you have adults advocating for adults. But when it comes to babies and children, there's no baby who is going to come and sit here and talk to you about it. So babies need people to advocate for them. And usually the advocacy falls on those who provide care for the babies. So usually it falls on the healthcare workers. I know of some mothers groups as well, but the bulk of it so far is done by midwives, nurses, doctors, and pediatricians. So it's basically about who to speak for the babies and children. Yes, adults tend to speak better for themselves than, yes. And this cuts across everything. It's not only about World Prematurity Day. Anything, when the national cake is being shared, is the lowest goes to the babies. So it's not surprising.
We are going to have the budget read for us.
Yes, so we can watch and see.
And see if there'll be anything attributed to our babies, our kids. But yesterday, on that same note, yesterday we had in our news that
cancer is covered. Yes, that was after a lot of advocacy. I mean, imagine when the NHIS came. I mean, how many adults advocated for what adult conditions? There were some. Well, later on, some adult cancers were added on, but most of the things were adult things. So it took a lot of advocacy for that to happen. So that still just supports the fact that, I mean, people need to speak for the babies and children. If no one does that, then they get left out.
Okay, so speaking on prematurity, coming back to what prematurity is, people hear preterm, prematurity, preterm, prematurity. What is it? What is prematurity?
Preterm, prematurity,
Preemie,
all referring to the same thing. And it refers to a baby that is born before the pregnancy has completed 37 weeks. So your pregnancy normally should last, should complete 37 weeks. That is 38 weeks to 40 weeks. And when you have a baby that is born before the pregnancy has completed 37 weeks, that is prematurity.
So even if it's 36 weeks?
Yes, but we would call it a late preterm. So when it comes to prematurity, it depends on how long the baby stayed in the womb. So we have those who were born less than the 28 weeks. Then we have those born 28 to 32 weeks. And then we have those born after 32 weeks. They have different problems, or the problems, the severity is different. So we group them actually. We have extreme preterm, very preterm, and then moderate to late preterm.
Okay, so before we go to my next question, let's dive a little into it. Extreme preterm. So you were saying that's before 28 weeks. So 28 weeks will mean 7 months, right?
Yes.
So before 7 months.
Yes, before 7 months. Yeah.
So what are some of the conditions you're likely to see in extreme preterm?
When a baby is born before term, the organs that the baby has, or we all have, are not well developed. So most of their problems stem from the fact that their organs are not well developed. Now, when you take the extreme preterm, they will have breathing problems because the lung is not well developed. The lungs maturity is better from 34 weeks ongoing. So when you're born less than 28 weeks, then you have breathing problems because your lungs are not well developed. You have problems with keeping water in your body because the skin that prevents us from losing our water is also not well developed. Their skin is very thin, so they tend to lose a lot of water from it. And because it's thin as well, you can have germs easily crossing through the skin into their bloodstream. So then they have loss of water, which is dehydration. And then they have bloodstream infections that we call sepsis. And they need to be able to eat, but their ability to suck breast milk is not well developed. Their intestines are not well developed to absorb what they eat. So then they have problems with feeding, and then it can make their blood sugars go low. Blood sugars go low, it affects a lot of things, including the brain. So they have problems with that as well. And then because their digestive system is not well developed, if their care is not taken with their feeding, then they don't grow. They are already too small, then they don't grow, then they become malnourished, and then it adds on to their problems. And then everything, the heart is not well developed, so the beating of the heart is a problem. The brain also has issues, again, just because it's not well developed. And so they have all sorts of problems. One other problem they have is jaundice. Most babies, a lot of babies get newborn jaundice, but jaundice is commoner among preterm babies. And then because they are so small, it tends to affect them in a more severe form than those who are born bigger. Yeah, so they have all these problems that are stemming from the fact just that they were born preterm. There are certain things you should take from your mother as a store. Micronutrients, we have iron, folic acid, all those things you take from your mother in the womb as a store. But when you are born too soon, then you don't have that store. So you are coming to the world without that store that would have given you a lot of other things, and it also adds to your problems.
So what causes preterm? Have I jumped the gun too much?
No, that's fine. In some cases, we don't know what causes it. The mother just goes into labor spontaneously. That's nothing really caused it. They just go into labor and then they have preterm babies. And then in some cases, premature babies are born because the pregnancy was in trouble, so to speak. And then the doctors feel that the baby has a better chance of survival if they is delivered preterm. And then we also have the ones that we can really readily do things about, like infections. Infections in a pregnant mother can cause the mother to go into labor preterm and have a preterm baby. A mother who is malnourished and pregnant can go into preterm labor and have a preterm baby. So these ones tie in with antenatal care. If you have good antenatal care, your risk of having a preterm baby is lower than if you don't have good antenatal care. And so then prematurity has been found to be commoner in poorer families, more vulnerable populations, because they may not be able to access health care, they may not have the education needed to attend antenatal care and that sort of thing. So when it comes to Africa and Asia, we have the higher burden of premature babies. Yes.
That was going to be my next question, actually, that how common is preterm? Because if you look at the way we talk about it, I mean, You check how we talk. We don't talk about it at all, which makes it seem
It's
like
as if it's not
it's
there.
not there.
It is there. About 1 in 10 pregnancies, not about, actually more than 1 in 10 pregnancies will end up in a preterm birth. And when you even look at where this data is coming from, this data is coming from our teaching hospitals. So you can imagine that there's somebody in my village who is going to have a preterm who is not covered in this data. So it's far more actually than we even see, because I mean, you sit in Accra or a big city and you do a research, but at least 1 in 10 pregnancies is going to result in a preterm delivery. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So is it actually, I know you spoke about the extreme and then the late preterm and all that, but when we look at prematurity as a whole, is it a problem?
It is a problem because it is one of the commonest or one of the leading causes of death in children under 5. You see all these problems that I have mentioned. When the preterm baby is not well cared for, then they have all these problems, or they have the problems and the problems don't get resolved, and then they may end up dying. And that is why the advocacy, yes, they will be born, because like I said, some of them we can't do anything about. Some of them we would need to do something about, so it doesn't happen. The preterm delivery doesn't happen. But once the baby is born, what do we do? So we need to know that, okay, they are born too soon, they will have all these sort of problems, so we can prevent some of these problems that they will have. For instance, preterm babies can die from just being cold, because like I said, their skin is not well developed, and the skin helps us keep the heat in our bodies. So if we prevent them from getting cold, then we enhance their chances of survival. And there are simple things that we can do. One notable thing is Kangaroo Mother Care. There's a way that the mother is taught to carry the baby in contact with her skin, like carrying your baby in a pouch. And then it helps to conserve the heat and actually transfer some of your body heat to the baby. And the baby doesn't get cold, and then you enhance the survival of the baby. Breastfeeding support. We know that they will have feeding difficulties. Some of them, because they are so young or born too small, they may not have the energy to suck. But with correct breastfeeding support, you will be taught how to express breast milk and feed your baby with a cup and spoon. And then they get their nutrients, they get the water from there, and then they are able to fight infections, because the breast milk also contains all these things that help us to fight infections. So there's so much that we can do to enhance their survival. Yes, and that is why we need to talk about it.
And that brings me, are hospitals capable of enhancing their survival? Looking at our hospitals now, at Ghana as a country, are we doing what we need to do?
A few weeks ago, very recently in the news, there was this news about a baby who was born around 400 grams, just weighing around an apple, and then spent, I think, a year or so in hospital, was ventilated and so on, and the baby survived. So that's in the developed world, yes. But here too, we can do so many things for them. Like I said, things like something like breastfeeding, it doesn't cost anything. You just need the support. You need someone to teach you, to guide you. Because again, when it comes to prematurity, the food that is best suited for them is the breast milk. So one, you need to know that if you have a preterm baby, that baby is better off on breast milk. And then you need to know that this baby may not be able to suck well. Or even if they suck at all, they will stop sucking because they are tired of sucking, not because they are full. So therein the support comes. You need someone to support you, to teach you to express the milk, to feed your baby, how much to feed, how often to feed. You need somebody to talk to you about hand washing, because these people, the preterms are vulnerable. Their immune system is not well developed. So hand washing, personal hygiene, how to keep your baby warm, so that the baby doesn't use all the food they are eating, the small food, to keep themselves warm. You know, you keep the heat in. Yes, all those sort of things. Follow up with your care, how to attend hospital, all those sort of things. And then with that care, cost effective. It is not a lot of money. You don't need big equipment. Big equipment is needed for a few, you know, because there will always be complex cases. But for the majority, these simple things we can do for them.
So you did say that there was a child weighing just 400 grams.
Yes, and and survived.
And survived and spent like a year. So do all preterms spend the rest of their, what is supposed to be the rest of the months in the womb, do they spend it in a hospital?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the answer is partly in your question. It depends on how preterm you were.
Okay.
So the smaller you are, the more care you require. But no, you don't need to spend all the time that you should have spent in the womb in the hospital.
Okay.
What we need you to do is to be able to breathe on your own. And once that you can do that, you are good to go. We need you to be able to feed and maintain your, the sugar in your body and those things. So once you can do that, you are good to go. You don't have an infection, you are good to go. You are gaining weight adequately, you are good to go home. So we just need to teach the mother the things to do at home. Of course, we need to follow up. You need to come to hospital regularly. So as we see, are you growing? Is there any problem to be corrected?
Oh, doctor, I am very, very grateful with that about that, because my elder brother was born preterm.
Wow.
I think it was either 7 months. Yeah, my mom always says it, because when we look at his height now and his size now, he's married with 2 kids now, and he doesn't look it. I mean, nothing shows that he is preterm. My mom always elaborates on how much care, and even for herself, how much she said she really slimmed down, because she had to really do a lot to support this life. And she always talks about having the support of the family as well. Her mom, her aunties, everybody was there. I want to talk about the caregivers themselves. So what kind of, I know you spoke on the breast care and the pouching.
Yeah,
The
it's called
kangaroo,
Mother
yes.
Care.
The kangaroo mother care, yes. What else, as a mother who is I mean, all mothers that are expecting babies, because we don't know who it is likely to affect. So all mothers who are expecting babies, while they are listening to you, what should they expect? What should they be ready for as a caregiver to this little one? I know that sometimes even pregnancies come with their own challenges, and then to have this as well. And then what kind of support do we also have for the caregivers themselves?
So if you have a preterm baby, or it is imminent, you've been told that for so and so reason your baby must be delivered preterm, like happens in some conditions. The first thing is to know that, be confident that, like the example you've given, and I said about more than 1 in 10 pregnancies will end in prematurity. So be confident. It's not only you. There are lots of mothers out there with preterm babies. There are lots of babies who were born preterm and who are doing well now. So know that it's not only you. The babies come so small. Sometimes they look so fragile, and we are even afraid
And
to touch them.
frightening, yes.
But you need to be confident. So many mothers have done it before you, so you need to be confident that you can go through this. Now, when it comes to support that we can give them, let me take it from the mother herself or the primary caregiver. You need to relax. You need to relax. You need people to help you to take care of the other chores so that you can relax. When you relax, what it does to you is that it puts your brain in a good space, so you are able to produce a lot of breast milk for your baby. Because the stress of the anxiety, is my baby going to survive? All those things work against breastfeeding. So you need to relax. You need a lot of support. You need people to take over the house chores. You need daddy to help with the other siblings so that you can relax and then produce breast milk.
Wow.
Then the hygiene. The baby is small. Immunity is low, not well developed. So the hygiene of those who handle the baby. In hospital, visiting is restricted, but once they get home, that may be a problem, because when you have a lot of visitors, we all carry things in our noses, in our mouth, on our hands. Yes. So the hygiene, and then it's not necessary for so many visitors to come at once. This baby is
Hit
still
on that one
developing.
again.
Yes, the baby should ideally have been in the womb still.
Yes,
So if the baby is in the womb, we don't see. Yes, so the hygiene, the hygiene, and then you need to be taught the danger signs to look out for. Like when your baby is hot, when your baby is not feeding, when your baby is not active, when it looks like your baby has paused breathing for longer than usual, all those things. Then you pick it quickly, and then what to do about it. If you need to go to hospital, you go to hospital with it. We give most of them supplements. So we ask that we breastfeed. But like I said, they came out with little or no stores from the mother of certain minerals and micronutrients. So we give them some supplements that are provided, like certain multivitamins and so on. But it's based according to the weight of the child and how preterm the baby is. So it's not something that you should go and purchase over the counter. When you take to hospital, then they teach you how to give these things to the baby that you mix with your breast milk, or you put in breast milk and then you feed the baby.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the follow-up regular.
Which is very, because even
Yes.
the normal term babies
Should be followed
even
up. Yeah.
okay. All right. So I'm pregnant. What are some of the things I can do to prevent prematurity? Is it even preventable at all?
Some of them are preventable. So I talked about infections leading to preterm birth. Yes, when a mother is very hot, febrile, that can induce labor, can make the mother go into labor. So you need to protect yourself from infection. Antenatally, we are talked to about sleeping in mosquito nets, because malaria can make you have a preterm delivery. So that is something. We are talked to about antenatally. They screen for, I mean, when you're pregnant, you go to hospital, they screen for things like urinary tract infections. So if you have good antenatal care, that is screened for. And then if it's discovered that you have that, then they give you treatments for it. So good antenatal care, good nutrition. If you are malnourished, you could have a preterm delivery. So people say eat for two. You don't need to eat for two, but you need to eat a balanced diet. Balanced means that you have your vegetables in there, you have your fruits in there, your protein, your carbohydrates, your fats and oil. So you don't eat for two. Yes, in the right proportions, but you need to eat a balanced diet. Again, the stress. Sometimes you are pregnant and you are so stressed because, I mean, you have to balance work and then being a mother and being a wife and then the other children, and then it becomes so stressful. So as much as possible in pregnancy, you should try and have ways of making sure that you don't get so stressed, because when you are so stressed, it can give you a preterm birth. Yes. And then there are the other ones that, I mean, if you are hypertensive, for instance, then that's the problem. So you can even think about it as you need to prepare for the pregnancy before you get pregnant to optimize your chances. Okay, because if you are hypertensive and your blood pressure is not controlled and then you get pregnant, that can actually make it worse. And then when it makes it worse, what happens is that if the blood pressure goes too high, the doctors may be forced to deliver your baby before it is time. If you are diabetic, you need to make sure that you have good control before you get pregnant. And when you're pregnant, moderate exercise, eating well, don't smoke, those sort of things as well.
So I have a friend who, I think, I don't know if it's hypertension or diabetes. She didn't have it, but it was after she got pregnant. So in that case, what do you do? Because if you're already hypertensive, if you already have diabetes, that's when you can psychologically prepare before you enter into pregnancy or while you are preparing for pregnancy. But what about those? Because is there anything like that?
Yes, there is.
So what about those who enter into pregnancy before they become diabetic or they become hypertensive and all that? How do they also prepare? Or
so good care. If you were not hypertensive and then you got pregnant and then you were hypertensive, then good care, because they will put you on medication, they have to monitor you. Same for if you were not diabetic and then you got pregnant and you developed gestational diabetes, the same thing, good care. Yes. So if you are told, then you need to follow through with, you develop a plan with your caregiver, you follow through with the plan and so on and so forth.
All right. So it is an interesting discussion, and I hope that there is a program that we actually had for the delivery room that is for babies, that is pregnancy, even before pregnancy, and I do really hope that they will take you up on this particular one. It has been a very interesting topic to discuss. But I just want to just one more, something to tell our mothers out there, especially when it comes to prematurity, because it looks like people are afraid to talk about it. I don't know where the stigma and everything, where that fear is coming from. So I just want you to just look into the camera, speak to our women why they shouldn't be afraid. Because as I said, for me, I know my other brother is normal and all that. So just in any language anyway. In any language our people will understand. So hit them with it for me, doctor.
So prematurity it happens. Yes, you can do what you should do to prevent it, but even then it happens. And when it happens to you, you don't need to be afraid. Just trust what your caregivers or the healthcare workers tell you. Trust them, ask your questions and understand. A lot of times I find that we don't understand because we don't ask questions. But if it's explained to you why you should breastfeed instead of, say, formula, if it's explained to you why you should carry your baby a certain way, then you are more likely to go through with it because you understand it. Yes. So don't be afraid. Interact with the healthcare providers, ask questions. If you need support, you need to reach out for support you get. And in fact, I offer all these supports on my page, Baby Child and Co. So you can come there. We even have a parenting club that you can join. Nice. And then we have YouTube. We do all sorts of things just to give you the education that is needed. So you can do that. But don't be afraid. There are so many mothers who have had preterm babies. I don't know why we don't talk about it. We are afraid because maybe they will say, I've done something. That is why my baby was preterm. But sometimes you haven't done anything. So, I mean, feel free, reach out, and then you get the information, the advice, the support that you need.
Thank you very much, Dr. Seyam Wardui. I like your name. I really like and I want to stress on this. She is a pediatrician, right?
Yes.
And also CEO. I hope I got that correct.
Yes,
CEO
yes.
of Baby Child and Co. Make sure you join. I know we all want to be. If you are not a parent, you're aspiring to be. So join that platform. Know how it can help you. Know what to do now, even as you prepare to be a parent. Know what you can do to support a parent, and know what you can do even as a parent to support a child. Remember, there's something she said I'm taking away with me, that children cannot speak for themselves. We have to advocate for them. So this is by way of advocacy. World Premature Day. So visit a mother who is a caregiver to someone like that. Offer them the help you can. You never know how what that help will do for them. We will go on a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll speak to Reginald, especially a special report coming from the Parliament. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.